The number of abandoned, abused and neglected children in the various homes and other childcare institutions around the country is growing at an alarming rate, and due to conflict and strife among families, the numbers can only grow by the day. Imani Children's Home is one example, housing up to 150 children brought by the police, some abandoned on the roadsides by unwilling parents, some of whom are struggling with financial or drug-related issues. However, according to child adoption centers, the rate at which the children are brought into the institutions compared to that which they are adopted is worrying, and thus the need to promote child adoption in the country. But why doesn't the rate of adoption match the rate of the neglected babies? In this series of Untold Stories, Adoption Demystified, we will be seeking to answer these hard-hitting questions.
We are looking for one love like a family.
Adoption in Kenya has been in existence since independence, and there was only one registered institution then. Now there are 6 registered child adoption centers.
It's a beautiful thing. We've seen many lives changed, both the children's lives and the family lives. We've seen families who walk in without hope, who have spent so much already on, other processes trying to get children. And adoption provides a hope for the child and for the family.
There are many misconceptions about adoption, with the most common being the view held by many that the exercise is a preserve for the childless couples, whereas the chief executive officer in one of the registered institutions, Little Angels Network, Susan Otuma, tells us this is not the case. Adoption is for any willing individual, provided that you meet the requirements of the law.
There are major misconceptions on adoption. One has just been that the child will just turn out wayward. I mean, this is not a normal child. We are not sure they will grow as any other child. Again, there's been a general misconception that adoption is purely for families that cannot conceive their own children, for infertile couples. And therefore, that has been one big misconception that has caused, again, a lot of stigma in our society. There's also been a general misconception that, only married couples can adopt a child, and therefore single families have kind of shied away until recently. We see a big shift in that, where more and more single families are coming forward to adopt.
The institution started in 2002, but officially registered as a child welfare society in 2005 to facilitate adoptions within and outside the country.
What we have is inter-country relationships, between agency to agency, so that Little Angels in Kenya partners with an adoption agency, for example, in Sweden, to facilitate adoptions from Sweden. So this is in line with the Hague Convention on Inter-Country Adoptions, which Kenya signed in 2007. And so we have the government-to-government partnership and agency-to-agency partnership. And that helps a lot, especially with the post-adoption follow-up and also the pre-adoption screening, that we ensure they are thoroughly screened by credible organizations, and also that after the child leaves the country, then we are sure there's a credible organization that's following up the child. Actually, our law requires a 5-year follow-up period, and quarterly reports are sent to Kenya with health reports, with pictures of the child, and a social report to just show how the child is adjusting in their new environment. We also make annual visits to every country where we place our children, just to see that they're doing well.
Little Angels Network is one of the registered adoption centers in the country, which works around the clock to ensure children housed in childcare institutions find a home with a complete family to help them heal from the scars inflicted in earlier incidents that led to their being homeless, abandoned or abused.
Gradually, adoption is being embraced by the Kenyan society, and that's gradually, slowly but surely. In the early mid-1990s, early 2000s, it was really shrouded with a lot of stigma and misconceptions, and very few Kenyans came up to adopt. In fact, between 1998 to about 2004, most adoptions were by foreigners living and working in Kenya. But that has changed a lot, and now we see more and more Kenyans coming forward to adopt. There's been a lot of sensitization, education, media campaigns, just to sensitize people on adoption.
So what qualifies one to be an adoptive parent? One must be between the age of 25 to 65 years. There must be an age difference of 21 years between the child and the adopting parent, be it single or married. The adopting parent must also be financially stable to ensure they can comfortably care for the child, as most have been through hardships.
We look at their preparedness. Again, it's lately we see the fact that adoption may become a fad, a fashionable thing that everyone runs to do, when really psychologically they're not prepared to do. So we also go through a lot of pre-adoption counseling and assessment to confirm that really this single applicant is really ready and prepared and passionate.
Adoption is quite a tedious process which necessitates vetting and investigation of the adoptive family, a scenario seen by many as a deterrent to finding homes for the children.
For a local adoptive parent, the pre-process before the child comes home will take anything between 6 to 12 weeks. The paperwork, the assessments, the counseling, all that before the child comes home. Then thereafter, the child comes home and there's a 3-month of bonding. After the 3 months of bonding, then we have the court process. And the court process, if started immediately, will take about 6 months and sometimes up to a year. The positive thing, though, is that the child is in your care and nobody will disrupt that relationship because of the court process. So basically, the court process is where you sit at home and just wait for the lawyer to tell you when you've got to go home to court and, do your hearing. So for a Kenyan couple, I'd say anything between 6 months on the minimum to 1.5 years to complete the whole process. Yeah, but the beauty of it is that by around month 4, the child is home with you. So the rest are really just formalities. For an international applicant, on average 2 to 3 years of vetting in their own country. And then, of course, they come to Kenya, and in Kenya, there's again the same process as the local families. Again, on average, 6 months to about 1 year to finalize the process. The biggest challenge for them usually is the 6 to 9 months of staying in Kenya to complete the process.
Susan points out that the adoption process goes through many stages and may take time, but this is solely meant to ensure children are adopted into the right homes and get deserving parents. The process, however, differs from local adoptions to residents, that is, foreigners living and working in the country, to inter-country adoption.
It may be a deterrent, and therefore why we record lower numbers of inter-country adopters. The beauty also may also be that we only get the very serious applicants that really want to adopt these children. We visited countries where we see that there are many failed adoptions. Families that went to countries where the process was really rushed. In some countries you actually get in, pick the child, and in a few days you leave. There are countries where you actually get your adoption order while you're still in your country, and all you need to do is travel to that country, pick your child and leave.
Adoptive parents are also required to pay a fee, which Susan points out is a facilitative fee that covers for the process of adoption.
I hear people saying, no, mtoto, I bought a child. It's not a buying a child situation. Basically, the fees that are paid are just facilitative fees to support the adoption society and the children's homes in, fulfilling the requirements of the law. So for a local adopter, the fee is Kenya shillings 12,500, and these fees are regulated by the government. So you pay 12,500 to an adoption agency like Little Angels, and that will take you through all the assessments and the counseling, and also part of it is paid to a children's home. 5,000 is actually directed to the children's home where the child comes from, to just support the work that they do with the orphans and other children.
The adoption process has, however, been quite discriminatory towards boys, as most couples prefer girls.
Statistically, there's a certain trend to show that girl children are more preferred in adoptions. First, the rates of abandonment and even the rates of children given up for adoption are higher for boys than girls. If you do a spot check in any institution right now, you'll find more boys than there are girls. Between 2011 and now, we've recorded about a 300% increase in the number of single women wanting to adopt. And that means the girls are going and the boys remain in their homes. Others are just societal stigmas and understandings about the outcome of a boy child vis-a-vis the outcome of a girl child in future.
The law on adoption also seems to lean towards the girl child, as there are less single men willing to adopt one of their own. Susan urges policymakers to allow single women to adopt boys.
Our law allows for married couples to adopt either, and for single applicants to adopt girls, and for single males to adopt boys. We have hardly any single males. However, the law also provides for special circumstances that can be considered to permit a single female to adopt a male child and a male child to adopt a female child. And that's strictly for local adoptions. For international adoptions, there's a strict general rule where a single male applicant is strictly not allowed to adopt, and a single applicant female can be allowed, but again under special circumstances.
Little Angels Network has had the capacity to successfully process over 180 adoptions per year, and while this has slowly increased, it has not been devoid of hitches.
We have seen cases that have presented some challenges, not really big problems, but challenges that can be talked over, challenges that can be dealt with through counseling sessions. It's a bit more challenging for older children, and therefore before we place any child above 4 years in an adoptive situation, then we really must prepare the child and ensure that the child is ready to go in with the family. The beauty of the Kenyan adoption process is that before the final determination of adoption, there's a 3-month placement period where the applicant and the child are living together, and we are able to follow up keenly to see whether the relationship is working or not. So in most situations, we are able to determine within the 3 months and intervene within the 3 months. In very isolated cases, we've had challenges post-adoption, after the adoption has been given by the court. Yet we've not had any cases of family breakdown, except one where it was really a case of abuse that really called for the children being withdrawn. We've had a few incidences, 3 or 4, where the couple took in the children and along the way changed their mind. Not able to conceive. We see a big number of them conceiving. We're not sure we are able to love the adopted child as much as, and we like it. It's honest. It may sound a bit unfair to the child, but we always believe it's in the best interest of the child to be with a family that fully accepts them.
As adoption agencies make a difference in society by giving homeless children a second chance, more needs to be done to ensure Kenyans are sensitized for their own adoption.
Thank God the government has really worked on policies to ensure that children are not kept in institution when they really do not need to be there. There's currently a rule, a 3-year rule, that any child that goes into an institution should stay there for maximum 3 years. And during the 3 years, we, the agencies like us, work closely with the government to find alternatives for the family.
Join me, Chomtai, going on part 2 of Adoption Demystified as I speak to a foreign family that has adopted 2 children.